You to each answer this as briefly as humanly possible. So try not to have your inner senator come out. So how much time do we have to regain leadership in America? And what's the price of failure in your mind? Start with Mrs. Hammer, go down the line.
Thank you, Senator. We need to act now. I believe that the U.S. is far behind other jurisdictions in terms of enacting a regulatory framework. And as my data shows in the written testimony, while we have had a lead in digital assets, others are rapidly catching up to us and perfectly poised to surpass us. We have to act now.
And what's the price of failure? Like, what does failure look like if we don't do anything, if we get mired in inaction?
Thank you, Senator. The price of failure is that we will have criminal activity, illicit activity in digital assets, fraud. We will have a more difficult time enforcing our rules and regulations, and we will have expensive, costly, time-consuming regulation by enforcement.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Not surprisingly, I also agree that the time to act is now. And I would say that there are two significant costs that come from not acting now. As Ms. Hammer has pointed out, other jurisdictions are acting. And we saw the cost of that in global data protection, where more onerous rules coming from Europe and the GDPR regime have created, frankly, problems and liability concerns for internet commerce more broadly. We don't want the same thing to happen with the digital asset ecosystem. We want the rules to be created and be imbued with the DNA of American commercial practice, legal practice, and policy focus. The second cost is the economic one. And ownership of technology has been the great hallmark of America in the 20th century and the initial part of the 21st century. It was from the steam engine to the internet, but we faltered in the last 10 years. We've been behind on technologies like 5G. We've lost our silicon manufacturing capability, which started here and migrated abroad. We do not want to do the same with the next generation of the internet that has the possibility to transform not just financial transactions, but consumer transactions and how information flows.
Senator, for the sake of being brief, I'm not going to repeat some of the consequences, but I will disagree respectfully with my fellow panelists. The time to act was yesterday, right? This technology was founded over 16 years ago. And here we are nearly 2 decades later, where the industry is asking for rules and regulation. That is not unique. That is unprecedented in our founding, in our country. So in that interim, you've had investors lacking the full suite of protections. You've had innovators struggling to understand the rules of the road. And if they're not moving abroad, they are hiring armies of lawyers to try to understand what the rules are, or facing, like Coinbase did, spurious lawsuits to defend themselves against rules and regulations that have never been promulgated in the first instance. So I think the consequences are devastating, and I do not think we have any time to wait.
Senator, I'll take you down the regulator's point of view. I think I was a commissioner in the first Trump administration. I think wrote an op-ed in 2018 or 2019 saying we needed, a change in statute. And that was by virtue of the observations I had made at the commission back then, and then as chair in the Biden administration. Obviously, we heard about the entrepreneurial, innovative side, but from a regulatory enforcement standpoint, too much fraud, too much manipulation out there, constituents across the country getting hurt. I think in our fiscal year 2024 enforcement program, the CFTC's enforcement docket, 50% of it, near 50% of it was crypto related, which is an astonishing number for a market that the agency doesn't regulate. So gives you some sense of how much fraud is potentially going out there that the agency is just unable to identify or see because there's no traditional regulatory authority. So certainly the time to act is now.
So, Madam Chairman, I wanted that on the record. If we could see if it's possible for that transcript to get distributed to all the members of the Banking Committee, because this is a completely bipartisan point of view. There's no dispute that we squandered the last 4 years in not acting. And because we did that, we're now behind the 8 ball. And I know this place doesn't operate exactly in the speedy way. This is not the Chick-fil-A drive-through. But we do have a responsibility for this country because the actions that we're taking right now will affect future generations and future technologies. And believe it or not, that's my last question. Thank you.